Number one on my list is Y-Combinator, also known as YC. They're the world's most famous startup accelerator. They're best known for having launched over 2,000 companies that include Airbnb, Dropbox, DoorDash, Stripe, Reddit, and many more. The best thing about YC videos is that they're often led by past founders who give very specific advice on topics ranging from how do you find your initial ideas, how do you prototype your MVP, how to find early users, fundraise, hire, and even scale into a billion-dollar company. The most useful set of videos I find from YC are their podcast interviews with past founders, as well as their How to Start a Startup lecture series, where past founders are quizzed on very specific tactics on how to go from a startup on day one to a large-scaled company. Second on my list is This Week in Startups, also known as Twist. This is a podcast hosted by famous angel investor Jason Calacanis, who interviews a range of founders and investors on detailed topics about their companies as well as the current tech zeitgeist. It's a great combination of entertainment and information about Silicon Valley and the startup ecosystem in general. I find that apart from also being the most frequent in posting content, the channel has infused Jason's personality with humor and character into the interviews, which make them all the more entertaining. I'd say a great place to start would be an interview with Mark Cuban, or the episode with Chris Sacca or Travis Kalanick, as it gives a great insight into the detail with which Jason questions his guests about their companies and their views on current tech events. Number 3 is PandoDaily. PandoDaily was a TechCrunch-like tech news website that was founded in 2012 by a famous tech journalist called Sarah Lacy. They focused particularly on Silicon Valley startups. And whilst they shut down in 2019 and unfortunately no longer produce content, I still find them a great treasure trove to visit long-form conversations with founders such as Elon Musk, Kevin Systrom of Instagram, Brian Chesky of Airbnb, and many more. These are some great conversations that provide a glimpse into the history of Silicon Valley, as well as are a great way to learn about how tech leaders around 8 to 9 years ago thought about the future of Silicon Valley and technology in general. Next is Kevin Rose's channel. Kevin Rose is most famous for having founded the social news aggregation website called Digg, as well as other apps such as Zero Fasting. He's also now known probably for being besties with Tim Ferriss and very regularly appearing on the Tim Ferriss podcast. Funnily enough, Kevin Rose, who's also a famous angel investor, was one of the first people from Silicon Valley to have started the idea of podcasts. He went around interviewing really cool founders and titled his range of interviews the Foundation Series. I find these really great conversations to listen to, and they include interviews with people like Jack Dorsey from Twitter, Anthony Castellana from Squarespace, as well as some unusual founders like Jamie Oliver and the magician David Copperfield. And finally, number 5 is the How I Built This podcast series from NPR. Guy Raz is the host of this particular podcast series, where he interviews over 300 founders on how they went from having an initial idea to transforming the way people live with their companies. It's a really cool insight into how some really famous companies such as Spanx, Lyft, Bumble, and many more were started. Although a lot of the founders do come on the show in order to promote something they're doing recently with their companies or a new product feature they're launching, I still find them interesting narratives to follow. Let me know if you've liked the video and if you'd like similar videos on other startup related topics.